The Northern Territory Government is expected to make an announcement on the proposed Inpex gas development soon. The Territory's Environment Minister, Carl Hampton, will receive a final assessment report on the company's environmental impact statement and supplement next week. The Japanese company wants to pipe gas from the Ichthys field off Western Australia to a processing plant it would build at Bladen Point in Darwin Harbour. The NT Environment Centre expects the $12 billion project will get the go-ahead, but the centre's coordinator, Stuart Blanch, says there are a few important safeguards that must be brought in to protect the harbour. Stuart Blanch, welcome to the program.
Hi, Laetitia.
What are you expecting the Territory Government to announce next week?
I think Carl Hampton will approve the project or recommend that it be approved with conditions. We hope that he does not until Inpex improve their project, but I expect that they will be very mindful of dolphins in the harbour in terms of blasting, and hopefully will say no blasting. I think they're very mindful of the greenhouse gas emissions matters, but I'm yet to see the Territory Government clearly say that this has to be a carbon neutral project and thereby require Inpex to offset 100% of their carbon pollution.
Are you expecting the Territory Government to ask Inpex to commit to 100% offset?
Well, I would like them to, but I have seen no evidence that the government is going to take a hard line with Inpex on emissions. I think Paul Henderson and his government has always run the line, Impex's gas will be good for reducing global carbon emissions in China because it will mean less coal is used there. That's a furphy. Inpex cannot and does not guarantee that its gas will displace any coal in Asia. So we might actually see more carbon pollution in China and Japan and a lot more emissions here in the Territory because Impex's gas is very dirty, and treating it to put it on the big bubble boats here in Darwin Harbour will actually increase our emissions by perhaps a third, maybe even more in the future. So it's hard to see how this is good for the world's fight against climate change.
You've called for the government to prohibit all damaging underwater blasting. Inpex has changed its schedule, saying there won't be any blasting of the Walker Shoal.
Well, I welcome what Inpex has proposed, that it will not blast, but it says that it's only 99% sure that it will not blast. We want the government to be very clear that there will be no damaging underwater blasting, because there's still a potential for dolphins to be killed or threatened sea turtles or fish to be killed if there's blasting in 3 or 4 years' time. I think Inpex is a smart company. It's got some very good engineers that it can call on, and I think a lot of the staff personally don't want to blast because they don't want dead dolphins on their consciences. So I think if the government says there will be absolutely no blasting, I think a lot of Inpex people will say, OK, that's the law, we're going to stick by it, and I think they can. There are machines out there that can grind away Walker Shoal. They don't need to blast.
Well, you've also raised concerns about the dredging program. What impact will that have?
Well, I think the dredging is less of an issue than blasting. It's still a major problem. It's, I think, 16 million cubic metres of dredging. That's a lot. And in the harbour, Inpex say it might impact up to 15% of coral communities, maybe only temporarily, but we don't know what the impacts will be in the long term. And they plan to dump it only about 11 kilometres off Lee Point, where Inpex admits that a lot of the dredge spoil will wash back onto shore over time. So we want the government to think about greatly reducing the amount of dredge volume. They could do that by, for example, requiring Inpex to build a much longer jetty into deeper water so they don't have to dredge as much. And they could get Inpex to find another site much further offshore to dump all the dredge spoil. That's all possible. It's just a matter of money.
There are also concerns about the health of the harbour before any of this takes place. We've had high E. coli levels close down 2 beaches this week. How concerning is it?
I think the bacteria outbreaks are like canaries down mine shafts. When you get problems with the canaries, you know there's a problem with the mine. When you get too many outbreaks of bacteria like we're getting this year, and which we had all through the dry season last year, we know that the pressures on the harbour are mounting. Those pressures are probably from Power and Water Corporation's sewage plants, also probably from perhaps fertiliser on the golf course down at in the gardens, perhaps also creeks like Little Mindle Creek, maybe sewage from septic tanks at East Point. I don't think either the Territory Government, Darwin City Council or Power and Water Corporation are solely to blame. I think there's a shared responsibility, and this is a problem. I understand that.
Is it acceptable, though, that we've been talking about this issue for some time now and neither the government nor the Darwin City Council knows the source of the E. coli outbreaks?
We have better science these days to find out what the source of the problem is. And I think we need to do more monitoring. I trained as a scientist and I believe fundamentally in getting good data. And I think the Territory Government is getting good data, and Darwin City Council. But we know when we get the data, it's likely to pinpoint those sources: sewage, septic tanks, poor catchment management. We need to work ahead on those now with Graham Sawyer, Paul Henderson and the head of Power and Water Corporation, Andy McCreadis, effectively joining hands and saying there's a shared responsibility. We're going to work on this together. We're not going to point the finger anymore.
It has become a political issue.
It is, and I understand that it's $500 million just to fix up Power and Water Corporation's sewage problems. That's a lot of money. This government doesn't have it. I know they've tried to get money out of the Commonwealth through Infrastructure Australia. They haven't yet. So, I'm willing to back off pointing the finger if they're willing to stand together with us and with the fishermen and Larrakia people and say, we have a problem. We can't afford to fix it up yet. We need more data, but we are going to find a solution, and there is going to be an end to outbreaks of bacteria and dumping sewage in the harbour. And if they did that, I think a lot of Territorians will say, good, now there's some leadership.
Well, good luck with that, Stuart Blanch.
Thank you
for joining us.